For some, these feelings can lead to changes in sleep patterns, an increased use of alcohol or drugs, or withdrawing from the people around them. If you know someone who's having a hard time coping, you can help by reaching out to talk and listen. To learn more about how you can help someone in need, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by the state of Washington.
Sergio LaCour's Love Lines is on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Thursday nights at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. Music and dedications for the grown and sexy.
This is a Rainier Avenue Radio.world community resource public service announcement. The King County Sexual Assault Resource Center operates a 24-hour resource line for survivors, family, community members, and bystanders to get support. 1-888-99-VOICE. Advocates will answer your call, provide crisis intervention, information and referrals, and ongoing support in English and Spanish. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 1-888-99-VOICE. Find King County Sexual Assault Resource Center at kcarc.org.
Yo, what's good? It's D-Money, and you should definitely check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Pacific, right on Rainier Avenue Radio.
With pint-sized Patron, Pete Treasy the Don. Y'all be sure to clean your mirrors as we play brand new hip-hop and R&B from locals and worldwide.
It's ID Yourself, a.k.a. Malcolm Flex. Make sure you check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time from 9 to 11 p.m.
And to get those exclusive interviews that we be doing.
Sipping a brand new Fresh Juice every single week.
Yeah. Every Wednesday, 9 to 11, Rainier Avenue Radio. Yeah.
Connect to your Seattle at Pier 62 with free events and programs all summer long. Family-friendly activities like music, art, dance, yoga, storytelling, fitness classes, and much more. All free for you to enjoy. Visit waterfrontparkseattle.org for the full summer schedule. That's waterfrontparkseattle.org. Connect to your Seattle at Pier 62.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
I just love the sound of shattering glass. Hello, world. I'm Bettina Carey, and we will be going live here on Rainier Avenue Radio, where we help you to shatter glass ceilings. And that's with an S, because we believe that there's many of those glass ceilings to be shattered, not merely broken. No matter your direct experience of abuse, like Monique was talking about earlier today, or lack thereof, we all know women or men, or even times in our life when we've experienced ourselves in a disempowering situation. And it is with this in mind that we're going to uncover and unpack exactly what is needed to thrive and flourish in life, despite going through some not so great experiences. Our topic today is your journey to freedom begins within. Self-empowering and transformational coach Tiu Knapp is an author, speaker, empowering transformational coach, entrepreneur, and domestic violence survivor. Her greatest achievement is her spiritual growth. Tia is committed to helping others begin their journey to freedom. Her book, Healing the Holes in Your Soul, is her first book and her claim to fame. Tia shares her message of finding self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. Welcome to the stage here. Tia, it's so great to have you. How wonderful, you made it.
Hi, Bettina. It's nice to see you here.
Yes,
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You know, and I've got a big smile on my face because I'm so excited to see you. The topic that we're going to be talking about is much too serious for this smile, however, I have to say. And so I'd like to just share with the audience a little bit about my own beginnings in domestic violence as well. So when I was a young girl in my teenage years, I was in high school and I fell in love with a boy who I fell in love with, and it turns out that he became my abuser. At a very young age, I went ahead and married this man, and I was pregnant with his child. One of the assaults that he unleashed on me resulted in the death of my firstborn child. And I stayed for yet another year beyond that. It was then that I began my journey to empowerment. And I've been on that journey ever since. And that was, of course, quite some time ago. I know you have a story to tell to you. It'd be great for you if you could start a little bit on your story.
I would love that.
Share a bit more.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really am thrilled to be here. My story, I'll just give you a real quick recap on it. I'm actually the daughter, middle-born daughter of immigrant parents who immigrated to Canada during Second World War. And the one thing that always made me wonder was that I grew up, I'm a baby boomer.
Yep.
And I grew up when women's liberation was going on. And I was raised under a mindset of limited beliefs. You're a girl, what can you do? You stay home, take care of the family, you stay home. And what happened was that's not what was happening when I was growing up at the teenage age. And what I didn't realize was that I also became a victim of how, domestic violence, and that's the premise of the book. And I wasn't going to write this book. I seriously was honoring my parents in a different book when I started writing last year. But what happened was can I just keep on going? I met this man who literally woke up my soul. And Michael Gross, he's the author of Spiritual Primer. He became my spiritual coach. And the more we talked and I shared my story, he said, you need to write your book. You need to write your story because your story matters and people need to hear it. So that's basically the birth of the book. And it's amazing what happens when you start realizing that it's not just your story anymore, because so many people are victims and they don't even know it. Do you realize that as I was researching the book, 85% of the global population is suffering with low self-esteem?
Wow. That's staggering, right? Because, the reality is it starts with low self-esteem and self-worth and beliefs, these stereotypical beliefs that women are lesser than a man, that you need to be married in order to be someone in the world, that you need to, not go to school, instead take care of a family. Juggling two things leads to imbalance. All of these messages get portrayed in the news media, they get portrayed in our home life. And we were both raised in that era where this was really profound. And yet, we were also there when things of liberation were coming out as well, but it didn't quite reach me in time. And so I still felt like my only choice was to be married at the time. You might have felt the same thing. Your journey began a long time ago. And then just recently is when you open that door to discovery of your own self-love. Tell us a little bit about working with Dr. Michael Gross and what's opened up for you.
I would love to. I did not know that I haven't been in an abusive situation in a very, very long time. In fact, it was 1986 when I finally reclaimed my independence. And it took me all these years. I thought I was okay.
Yeah.
I really thought I was okay, but I wasn't, because I was still living in a mindset based in fear. And when I realized that, Michael taught me that came from the limited beliefs that I had when I was growing up, because I thought everyone else lived the way I did.
Mm.
I thought that everybody also, I couldn't understand that my upbringing was actually one of the reasons why I stayed in a massively dysfunctional relationship for way too long. And when I finally started working with Michael, all the bells and whistles on the inside started coming out. And I started realizing that, I am not who I thought I was. Because it's like that, when your soul knows who you really are, when you realize that your soul is the one that kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
As I was writing the book, I started realizing that at the lowest points in my life, my soul was telling me what to do. Get back up off the floor. You don't need to be on the floor in the corner anymore. Get up and fight.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how he, he started peeling the layers off that crazy onion. The years and years and years of all that programming that, society says one thing. My sibling, I was bullied at home. I was bullied at school. I was bullied all over the place. And I used to, at school, the boys at school used to throw eggs at me.
Oh, dear.
Just awful things, right?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking you have no self-worth, right? I know you can relate to that.
Yeah, we should teach self-esteem and self-worth in schools at a very young age, but I don't know that that's really the interest there. But one of the things that you're pointing out is that even after you had escaped the physical abuse, you still were operating with the self-limiting beliefs that came with that package. So what was one of the first things you had to unpack as you peeled back the onion, so to speak?
That's a really good question. Really good question, because one of the things that I learned a long time ago was that we react in stressful situations. We either freeze, we flee, or we fight.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to fight because every time I fought, my head got slammed into a wall again or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I froze, but then you're just standing there getting beat up more. And then I would run. And where I ran I was running into the gutter. I was hiding. Mm-hmm. And it took me until working with Michael to realize that I can't run and hide anymore. I was crawling into the gutter because that's where I thought I belonged. And when he started improving my self-worth by telling me, no, that's, look at what you've done in your life. Look at where you are today. And that 5-minute video that you helped me put together because of the We Empower You group.
Yes.
That 5-minute video was a huge wake-up call for me. I don't crawl in the gutter anymore. I've now put the lid on the gutter. We're not going in the gutter. And when I fight back with unconditional love and the positive energy that comes out of our mouths and our souls, because that's what's important.
Yes, and I met you a year ago, and you're a totally different person today than the person I met a year ago. You had just retired from the Postal Service, and you were beginning to have the burgeoning idea of a book. Now it's in print. It's coming off the printer at the moment, and you're just about to step on the stage of authors and speakers and the like. And it's just really incredible, because what it also shows me is that it's never too late. It's never too late to embrace your authenticity, to embrace self-love, to kick the self-limiting beliefs to the curb. And I'm getting up in those years, and so I love that. It doesn't matter how old I get, I can still keep on kicking up, things to the curb that do not serve me. Because these glass ceilings, as I call them, that sit over us, they keep us from living out our full inner potential, our full empowerment. And when we break through and shatter those ceilings, there's no looking back, right? So at this point, you can't even look back a year ago and say that you could ever embody that person that I met, because that person doesn't even exist here. You also mentioned that you're working with me on the We Empower You membership. You're a member of our organization called We Empower You and the WeEmpowerYourLife.com website. And for our members, we actually help them to produce a 5-minute video, which can share your story and also promote your business. And I think you ended up with a wonderful story. And I loved how you told the story from the perspective of as if you were reading a bedtime story. Tell me a little bit to the audience here. What did you share exactly?
Oh, wow. Well, for me, it was the moments of awakening. Okay, there were certain things that I didn't realize because, we protect our children. And my children were very, very young at the time when things were going really ugly for me. And I hid them in a closet. And that's part of where I started with the 5-minute video. And to see the whole video in its entirety, it is in the website, which is the title of the book. But what I wanted to say was it took me back. Okay, when you write a book, you go back and you remember the the feelings, the emotions, and sometimes the pain. And then when you write about it, there's a healing. There's a massive healing when you write your story. And for me, it was, I needed to go back and see all that stuff. It's like going back one more time. I actually ended up moving to Arizona. I was running away when I moved to Arizona. Spent the last 10 years of my postal career down there. But I came back because my parents live in Canada. And I moved back up here and I thought, I'm going back to the place where I lived, basically in hell on earth. And what I had to do was go back almost to the scene of the attack, okay? And when I went back, I realized that, sometimes you have to go back to get the memories and the lessons, let go of the pain, thank the abusers for the lessons you've learned, and move forward. And when I moved forward, it was like, Michael said this recently. He said, are you going to live in the past? You have two doorways. Are you going to live in the past? Or are you going to close that door and move into the future and open the door to the future? And I thought, well, for all those years that you were talking about, Bettina, I was stuck in the hallway. I was literally stuck in the hallway between the past and the future.
Right.
I wasn't sure what to do.
You bring up a really good point. And for women out there and men too that are abused and living in those situations right here and right now, you may find it odd that Tiu just honored the fact that she had some lessons from her abuser and thanked them. I too came to a point in my life where I could actually see that I became the woman that was a victim turned empowerer along the way as a result of the abuse. I hope that that's something that you can come to if you're listening and you're watching. And one of the tools that you've created lives on your website. And I want you to share a little bit more about the Healing the Holes in Your Soul book and also the resources that you can find on your website for anybody who's interested.
I would love to. Thank you. If you go to the tab that's the Soul Healing Shop, Michael's book is in there. That became my Bible. There you go. That became my Bible. Yeah. Okay. And it was so many aha moments. My book is also there. And if you go over to Survival Guide, there's a free downloadable link. There you go. You just enter the information and you can download that survival guide. A lot of the resources that I use is the National Association of the Domestic Violence. I forget the acronym.
Yeah, down towards the bottom. Yeah, that's an important number. Everybody should know it because you're going to run into people who are in these situations. I hope never to find myself there again. I definitely lead people to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233. That 7233 stands for SAFE. Again, 1-800-799-7233. And this is a 24-hour confidential service for survivors and victims and those affected by domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and relationship abuse. And this is living on your website where you have this downloadable survival guide. What are some of the tips that you cover in your survival guide?
Good question. In a nutshell, what I did was I put together, if you know that you're planning to leave, and this was part of what came in my book. It's in my book too, that back in those days there was a movie out, and I won't go into the movie, but I had a gas can in the trunk of my car, and I lived in a mobile home, a double wide mobile home. And I was getting ready to set my house on fire one day when he was having a drunken stupor. I was tired of being abused. Wow. And I had my kids in the backseat of the car, and I was getting ready to set my house on fire just to get rid of them. And that's obviously not the thing to do. That's not in your survival guide, okay?
Yeah.
That's not
Otherwise,
in the
you'd be on this show, you'd be on a different show.
Yeah. We won't go there.
A jumpsuit of some kind.
Yeah. We won't go there, but the thing that I'm getting to is that if you know ahead of time that you're going to leave, if you already know that you're looking for the plan, and that's part of what's in my video as well. The night that I had my aha moment, when I was beat up for the last time, and I saw my children looking down from a friend's house. It was the 4th of July, 1986, and their faces were looking through the window, And I could see them as my head was being slammed into the window one more time in a pickup truck. And I thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Something inside snapped and the warrior came out in me and I started fighting back. And that's how I built the survival guide, because there are things that you can do, that you can have a bag already ready to go. If you have a friend who you trust, you can have him hold on to that bag for you. You know, money, ID, medical cards, prescriptions, whatever it is that you need in order to keep going once you leave. Because sometimes when you leave, all you can do is grab your kids and run.
Yes. And, you know, this is a really important thing to also state at this time, is that sometimes when you go to leave is when the violence escalates. So you want to have a plan in place. And I had a very similar experience as you. This would have been right at the peak of domestic violence. I woke up to a dream where I had killed my then husband, and I was the one that was sent to prison. And he would keep me from going places and doing things. And so that day I went to my church, a Catholic church, and I talked to the nuns about never going back. I left literally with nothing other than my purse. And they hooked me up with the nuns, and they kept me overnight. And then I snuck back in to grab a few things. He found me present there. I escaped that moment. And then I went on to have to start my life anew with nothing, pretty much. Now, mind you, I had family in Colorado, but I didn't really know anybody here in Washington State where I was at. I had traveled here on the way. Of course, he had caused the death of my newborn. It was a year after his the abuse had continued. And, you know, this was a nightly, weekly, monthly kind of occurrence. And so it was really at the peak of all of this. And so because I didn't have a plan and I didn't know where to go to, in my case, I went to the church, the only thing that I knew growing up that I could turn to. And so thankfully they were able to find me someone to live with who happened to be a nurse at the time. And I was just pursuing my nursing degree. And then in addition to that, he located me 3 separate times in the span of just several months. And then, you know, obviously some not so great things happened to him, which I won't get into here, that he left the state. And then I ended up becoming free. But I really wasn't free mentally until I found out about his death in about 2011. And I realized that there was always something on my shoulders. There was always looking back. I even had changed my name because I didn't want to be found by him. So there's so much that we could share with the audience here. Those are some really great tips that you can find on TU's website. And I want to also go back to your book. And on your website, you have a listing of all the things that are in your book, because you have described the many types and forms of abuses. So if you wouldn't mind bringing that up, Daniel, that'd be great for us to take a look at. Starting with physical. Tell us a little bit about all of the types of abuses that you consider are abuse.
There's a lot of types of abuse, and this is very general 6 topics, but physical is usually, you know, you can get slapped, you get punched, you get, you know, pinched. I used to get pinched a lot. When you go into sexual, that's pretty much, you know, any other facet that, you know, leave it to your imagination, because I never knew the extent of somebody's illness. I'll just call it an illness, okay? Where they can do something so drastic to someone who they say they love.
Right.
I thought, how can you treat people like that?
Yes.
So, but it's not just, you know, those are the 2 that are relatively obvious. The one that is really, really more subtle is the verbal. You know, they suggest, you know, little innuendos, little insults, and they're very subtle. That sometimes you just go, oh, he's just having a bad day.
Yeah. And this is where gaslighting actually comes into play too, where you start to think you're a little bit crazy because you know, part of you still believes in that soul's purpose and that bigger you and that self-worthy you. And then they're giving you information to the contrary. And so you're kind of like looking around going like, what the heck? How come I feel insane at the moment? You know? And so this is a really big one. Of course, there's emotional and mental as well. And you've experienced all of these. I want you to also talk a little bit about that financial abuse that can also follow. I know when I was in the midst of this abusive relationship, one of the things that this person did was they took my license and my passport away. So I had no way to move about the world, without those documents. So that also impacts financial well-being. Tell us a little bit more about that for you.
Well, one of the things that I didn't know at the time was I was the one that was taking care of the bills in the house, but there was never enough money, and the checks would clear, but not all of them. And I thought, well, that's not right. There should be enough money in there because I did the books. Mm-hmm. But what he was doing, and I found this out later, was he was writing checks, forging my signature, and cashing them right after payday.
Wow.
Which ended up leading me to financial ruins, because you know how much NSF check charges are when you bounce one? Yes. And I had to go back and then humble myself and apologize to different merchants and stuff when things didn't clear, and figure out a way to pay for everything. And that destroyed my credit.
Yes. Explore a little bit with us the 8th one, which is cultural.
Okay. Cultural is very, very, another one that's subtle. Okay. A lot of people I'll use my dad as an example. My dad's passed away, so it's a little bit easier to talk about him now, but he had issues with certain races, and he wouldn't let me date anyone that he thought was not worthy of me.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't matter, Dad. And I don't know how many times I told him, Dad, that's just a skin color. It's a skin tone. It's where they were born. It's a faith that they were raised in. That doesn't mean it's the content of their character. Mm-hmm. It's just the packaging.
Yes.
And I remember many, many times, especially when I was a teenager, I would say, Dad, when you cut the skin, it bleeds. It doesn't matter what people look like on the outside. We are all the same on the inside.
That's a great example of cultural abuse, in this case by the father. So you say abuse tears apart your soul piece by piece. And your book is Heal the Holes in Your Soul. Also, your website is healtheholesinyoursoul.com. You've got your book on the website. You've got this survival guide on the website. You're a member of We Empower You. We have you coming up to speak at the We Empower You Global Virtual Summit. Share with the audience here that's listening and watching how folks can get a hold of you.
Well, it's up on the website or up on the screen right now. It's my phone number. Text me because I get a lot of spam and I might not accept it. But definitely text me and let me know that you got my number from the show right here. You can also send me an email. And I offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation so we can just see how I can help you shatter your own limited beliefs. Because what we are on the inside needs to come out and shine. Everybody has a story to tell.
Thank you so much for coming today. TU can be reached at her phone number that was on the slide previously. That's 480-223-7921. She also offers a complimentary consultation for 30 minutes. And it's been great to have you here today. Next up, we have God is Inspiration. Thank you so much for everybody for listening and watching. Please remember to share the Rainier Avenue Radio links, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much to you. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you, Bettina. It was my pleasure.
Ask most anyone if they feel empowered in all areas of their life. If they're honest, they'll likely say no. Hi, I'm Bettina Carey, and I may be only 4'9½", but what I do is big. Dream big, break through, and connect to powerful people like you. And what I'm doing is inspiring and empowering others to break through, shatter their revenue glass ceiling. And I'm here to tell you that We Empower You community is where you're going to want to be. It's a community. It's a membership. It's a movement. And what we're doing is helping you to start and run your online business without doing a thing. We're helping you to find angel investors that you don't have to pay back, to run your own membership program where you don't have to do the work, and so much more. We are here to empower you at the We Empower You Global Summit and the WeEmpowerYourLife.com. Visit us on the web at WeEmpowerYourLife.com or text the word Bettina to 555-888. We'll see you at the summit.